You could always like tell who went to sniper school because our green undershirts would all the sleeves would be cut off because you're wiping your with that, or your socks, you're cutting out the top of your socks.
That's it. But people don't see that.
No, they don't. They never show that in movies.
No. I went down and picked the phone up and I rang Tanya up, my missus. And I spoke to her and I went, I love you, you know. And she goes, yeah, I love you too. What's that noise? I'll phone you in the morning. I promise you I will phone you in the morning.
Hey, what's up, man? Cody.
Craig.
Nice to meet you, man. So this is your home.
Yeah, I trained around here, so this is really familiar, all the trees and everything. It's good to sniper around this area. Tell us about your childhood, mate.
I grew up just south of Dallas, a place called Duncanville in Texas. My dad was a police officer, and my mom, she worked for a couple of companies. You remember pagers?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so my mom worked for this pager company for the longest time, and yeah, I remember seeing, I went to this like daycare when I was a young kid, and they had this like poster, this military poster. It was a Ranger poster. And I'm like, man, that thing looks cool. This guy had like cami paint on, like a rifle with a grenade launcher. I'm like, wow, that's so cool. And I'm like, I want to do that. And I don't know why. I never really had a childhood dream to do anything different. I just wanted to be a G.I. Joe. And then as I kind of matured, I realized that, you know, to be a sniper specifically, there was like a very high attrition rate. I'm like, what, 70% like don't pass? Like that sounds...
It's higher in England.
Is it really?
Yeah, massively. Like my sniper course, I started off with 30 guys, and I think off the top of my head, there were about 6 of us. 6 or 4. Well, I think it was like we passed. Yeah, but it's massive. Yeah. It's good to hear that the Americans suffer with that as well.
I never shot a rifle before I went to boot camp, but I had a pellet gun. So I would like set up these like tactical scenarios and just shoot G.I. Joes and play paintball and that was the only, there was no other option for me.
Yeah,
I didn't want another option.
Yeah.
What about yourself?
Do you know what? My childhood was all right. My mum was very strict, very Victorian, you know, rigid and how, you know, and you wouldn't fuck up because she would, she ran with an iron fist sort of thing. But I had horses when I was younger, been riding since I was little. And you wouldn't think now, you know, but I love show jumping, cross-country stuff. As a kid, man, I absolutely fucking loved it. And where I lived in Cheltenham, there was no job prospects. And my grandfather always told me, get a trade. And I thought I'd become a farrier, you know, like a blacksmith. And there was no one where I lived that was taking on apprenticeships. So I said, fuck it, I'll just join the army. You know, and I was joining the army at 16 I joined, straight from school, and then went to the regiment, and I was dyslexic. And I found it quite difficult. My practical skills was on par.
Right.
Yeah, but when it was like the anatomy of the horse and doing this, it was fucking hard.
Yeah.
But, you know, didn't become a farrier. So I went AWOL and joined the Foreign Legion. And I was in the Foreign Legion for 4 weeks, and I was honest with them. I said I was AWOL from the British Army, and they wouldn't accept me.
Really?
So they kicked me out because years ago they would rapists, murderers, and stuff like that. Got back to England, did my time in Nick, and carried on soldiering on.
Do you think you were like looking for something specific from the military that you didn't get off the bat?
Yeah, I just didn't have that.
Like home?
I didn't have that guidance. My mum was on her own, you know. I had a brother, he joined the army, but I didn't have that guidance to guide me as a father figure, and I just felt lost.
Did you guys have to like try out to get into the sniper platoon?
Do you know what? I was the first one in my regiment to become a sniper in the history of my regiment, and my regiment's been around since the Waterloo. So to go on to a sniper the school to learn, you had to have a pre-course. I had fuck all. I had nothing.
Right.
I'd never even fired a sniper rifle, you know. So they gave me the date. They said, right, there's your date, tip up.
For straight to sniper school?
Straight to sniper school. No pre-course, no nothing. But my fitness has always been on par. I'm airborne. I'm always fucking running around with a backpack. I've got no qualms about that at all.
But your training is in your head.
Yeah.
You're just guessing.
Yeah. So I tipped up there, kit bag, in my uniform, they had ghillie suits, ops boards, spotting scopes, laser binos, the rifle. I had nothing. I had absolutely nothing. A Coldstream guard from the guards, he said, look, mate, I've got some spare kit. And I said, all right then. So he goes, there's a rifle, there's some laser, there's some binos, there's a spotting scope. And on the weekends we had off, I was making my ghillie suit.
Right.
I was making my obs board, you know,
Playing
and
catch up.
I was making my sticks. And I never saw my missus because I was just in the tailor shop all the time, making stuff, you know, and yeah, I took to it.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I deployed not as a sniper for my first Iraq tour, and I went to, I think the Americans went to Baghdad on the breach point, and then we went to Al-Amara in Iraq, and it was full on Saddam Hussein's Red Army fighting to get into Al-Amara to flush them out. And we took over this football stadium, and it was fucking huge. And one night I thought I'd go for a walk. So I went up the steps of the football stadium, and they had snipers on each corner. And I went up and spoke to one. And do you know what? He was like this. And he didn't break position once. He was so focused. He was on glass, and he was just looking. And I was just captivated, you know, and I started talking to him, and he didn't even break position. And then I see him walking around the stadium, these snipers, and they're just scruffy as fuck, but professional. And I thought, this is what I want. This is what I want to become.
Yeah, so like when I got to my sniper, when I made the sniper indoc and I get to my platoon, there was guys all from OIF-1, you know, already happened, and there were some guys that were in Somalia, and you know, everyone's talking like this like big heroic game. I'm just like mesmerized and fascinated, and half my platoon was just tatted up dudes. I'm like, this is where I belong, you know, like these are my people.
Yeah.
Definitely not where I got my inspiration from. Totally where I got my inspiration from. So we're doing this training, and we know we're getting ready to deploy in like 5 months, and they came to our boss came into the platoon. He's like, hey, there's 2 slots open for sniper school right now, but you have to go to another battalion, and you'll miss out on this deployment. And so my buddies and I were looking at each other, we're like, man, we can go to sniper school now, because sniper school is not guaranteed. You know, there was guys in that platoon for like a year that never had a chance to go to sniper school. I'm like, damn, this is my sure shot to go. But I'm like, do I want to miss out on this thing called Fallujah? Do I want to miss out on like being with this team that I really like? And so...
Did you hear about Fallujah, how shit it was? Or
so we were the first of the shit in Fallujah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What I hear about Fallujah, it was a fucking hellhole.
Yeah.
You know,
one...
looking at things and seeing how close everything is, and the rooftop fighting. And I heard, and I've spoke to Marines, that they said that rooftop fighting was more easier than being on the street, you know, because it was just getting picked off.
Yeah, give and take for sure. There was some good rooftop fighting. There was some very horrible rooftop fighting. Right when we got into Fallujah, the team leaders did a we call a left seat, right seat. So with the outgoing sniper unit, it was an Army unit, and so our leadership went on like a mission with them to kind of see like the lay of the land, and then therefore they have some experience with the exiting unit. And they went out, and that day, the Army snipers took 2 casualties. There was 2 KIA, and then half of our sniper leadership all took shrapnel from grenades.
Wow.
Yeah, and so that was like our first interaction of like, oh, this is real. You know, this is my first experience on a deployment, and now half the guys in our platoon have like grenade wounds, and they're just kind of like telling us like, yo, bro, this is crazy out there. And we end up getting told like, hey, we're going in the city. This is like our very first invasion, like the very first push in Fallujah. This is back in 2004. And before we go into the city, our platoon commander came in and he's like, hey, all you guys have to write a death letter. I never even heard of a death letter. You know, you see it in the movies, like, you know, I just recently watched Black Hawk Down again, and I remember them handing like, hey, if I don't make it, give this to my wife. And so I don't even know what to say in these things. So I'm writing a letter to my girlfriend at the time. I'm writing a letter to my mom, and we had to turn them in. And it still didn't really set in like what the reality we're about to face. And
it's hard to put in a letter, isn't it?
Yeah,
what can you put in a letter?
Hey mom, I'm sorry.
Yeah, if you're reading this, I'm not here.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? By the way, delete my browser history.
Yeah. So we go in the city, and we got in a few gunfights. I still wasn't in a gunfight yet because I was a point man, and every time we make it to a rooftop, my job was to turn around and hold 6 security, you know, watch that door. And I'm getting shot at around my head, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of crazy. And everyone's laughing because I'm like, what else do I do?
Yeah.
And we ended up advancing forward even more, and we get into this like abandoned building. I'm looking out the window and I see these 2 guys in black. We call them man jammas, right? The black on black attire, black face mask, black top, black bottoms. I see them run across this building, and I call it out to my team. And as soon as I call it out, it's just hell's breaking loose. Now we start taking fire from this rooftop across the street from us, and now we're taking machine gun fire. And my radio operator and I, we're the only ones with an M16, so we're taking turns shooting back and forth through this window. And the snipers, my team leader and assistant team leader, they're sprawled out on the ground because we're just getting beaten down with machine gun spray. And as soon as I pop back through the window to shoot, I distinctly remember this like loud like exhale. And I got shot in the helmet. I didn't know that at the time. I thought I was dead. Like I have this like crazy like out of body experience. I'm like seeing my whole team. I'm seeing my body. I'm seeing like this gunfight take place like a glitch.
It's like it's knocked you out.
Yeah.
And you've gone back in.
Yeah.
Like you see on the films where they knock. Yeah. I know
like
what
a
you mean.
video game. You ever like play a video game? You get too close to the wall. You can see like over the top.
That's it.
That's this like vision that I had of everything, and this like crazy like bright light. At least this is how I'm remembering it all. I just get sucked back into my body, and I wake up, my eyes, and my body's like convulsing. And it was my assistant team leader. He was on the prone kicking me. He's like, "Hey, wake up!" They're like, "Dude, we thought you were dead. We didn't see any blood." I'm like, what happened? They're like, get on the radio and like call them for backup, because my body fell by the radio. And I'm like crying, I'm laughing, I don't know what's going on. Like we're still getting shot at, so I can't just like dwell on this experience. So my team leader's like, we got to get out of here, we're gonna die. And they're like, hey, go talk to the corpsman. So I go to the corpsman, I'm like, hey bro, I just got shot in the helmet. I have this like big hole in my helmet, right? And luckily, I'm so grateful and so lucky. It hit my helmet, penetrated, but it just like caved out on the inside.
Yeah.
And the nipple part that caved in is what hit me, and obviously in the ringing. And so I was given a cigarette and a Motrin and told to get back in the fight.
Oh, it's just fucking shocking, mate. Absolutely shocking.
Oh, yeah. The whole unit pulled out the next day. And what they realized, they weren't expecting Fallujah to like be a hornet's nest. And they realized they didn't have a plan. After being in like 7 gunfights a day, you know, it's a continuous battle. You're just fighting from these like fortified positions. Our company commander was like, hey, I'm tired of getting sniper fire from this one building. We took sniper shot. We would always shoot guys from this building. It was right across our stronghold, across the cemetery, the Jolan Cemetery. And he's like, we're gonna have a mission. We're gonna go inside that building, and the whole mission is to get snipers, like you guys, just to kill people. And I'm in this hallway, and there's just everyone that's on the rooftop is just coming down. They're all missing limbs. They're just shot. They're grenaded. So basically, what happened? The fighters were at this time running through our front door. They're jumping through our windows. They're trying to jump onto our rooftop from the adjacent buildings because they're some are far away, some are very close, and just lobbing grenades. So it's just like all out hell. And you just hear like just pure chaos, like screaming, corpsman, just help, all this type of stuff. We had a Delta medic with us too, so you're hearing the medic, like all this crazy stuff. And the Marines are knocking down doors to like act as stretchers to move bodies. And I hear this like this scream, basically, it's like, get on the roof, like, we need bodies on the roof, get on the roof. And I remember there was this guy in the corridor, he was a senior guy, he did OIF 1. I'm like, hey dude, let's go. And I'm sure you've seen it in your time, but you've seen someone with shell shock.
Yeah, yeah.
And I never thought he was a coward in that moment. But I'm just got goosebumps thinking about it. But it's a very distinctful energy that you feel, and when you see this from somebody. This guy was not moving. He wasn't even like registering any sound, any voice. He was just locked into this stillness, this fight or flight. And so I end up running outside to the balcony. I get up on the 3rd floor, and as soon as I come to the top, I see my best friend. His name is Aaron Austin. He was a machine gunner, and so we would take turns, like shooting the machine gun, doing our thing, and he taught me how to use the machine gun, taught me how to use the thermal. So it really took me under his wing, and like, because we were both on the rooftop, smoking cigarettes every night, holding watch. And so we really built this like amazing relationship under fire,
Yeah.
And he was shot numerous times in the chest, and he was actually running up there to man the machine gun. So at this time, we already lost the machine gun up there in a fire from a grenade. We lost a sniper rifle, it was destroyed. All of our ammunition, all of our sniper ammo was in our pack with our night vision. That's cooking off, so I get up there and I just see like just carnage. There's blood everywhere, there's just burning bags. At this point in time, now we're getting shot at from the minaret, the mosque, so they had the high ground on us. And I'm going to shoot, and as I'm shooting, the guy that was shell-shocked in the hallway, he runs like right in front of my muzzle, and thank God I saw him, and I was gonna shoot him in the head. So he came up there, he got in the fight, whatever time and whatever he needed to do, he got up there, and the Delta medic was up there with us, and they're working on Aaron, trying to get him stabilized as much as possible. There was another guy up there. Dude, AK's a vicious round, right?
Yeah.
And so it just like completely filleted he was a bigger guy, but it filleted his whole upper shoulder, and he's still up there in the fight. He's throwing back grenades that are being thrown at us, and our whole mission at this point was to get all the bodies and any gear that was salvageable downstairs. And so we ended up carrying Aaron down, and at this time, I don't know if you ever saw videos of Fallujah, but there's one where there's like 100+ bodies running through the city, and a 500-pound JDAM hits it.
Yeah.
So all those fighters are coming to our house. And that was just down the street from us. And the only way we got out of our building was the Abrams, the tanks. The tanks came to shield all the fire so we could like run out. And then we did the actual Mogadishu mile back to our stronghold. I just remember being so grateful to be alive. Because that entire deployment, out of all my deployments, 3 to Iraq, 3 to Afghanistan, 1 to Africa, that was definitely my most traumatizing, most enlightening. And
is that something you go back to now and again, you think about?
Yeah, that story of the rooftop and this hell house, it actually haunted me for years. And the day was April 26, 2004, and
funny enough, I can remember the day I got blown up. December the 14th at 4:30. Got blown up.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's funny what you remember.
What about yourself? You have any like just crazy introduction to the sniper world or your combat experience?
Mate, I was on a rooftop in Iraq, and the place was called the P-Jock, and it's from Basra Palace, and it literally takes 10 minutes to walk it.
Okay.
It takes 2.5 hours in a vehicle because you get fucking smashed. And they call it the champagne flute because that's what it looks like, the road. And next door to it is a prison, this P-Jock. And it's only held by 18 guys. And our job is to stop the insurgents releasing the prisoners who are high-value targets, like insurgent leaders and stuff like that. And I don't know, do you get the Muppet Show? Do you remember the Muppet Show?
Yeah.
Do you remember the old guys in the balcony?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that was our sniper hide. Okay. And that's how much we stuck out. And we got pinpricks all the time. Bah, bah. And I said to my number 2, I said, look, mate, we can't fucking stay here. We need to get on the roof. And from 11 o'clock in the evening until 5 o'clock in the morning, it was the gates of hell. It would just fucking open up because these insurgents want to get into this fucking prison, and we had to defend this prison and I said, we need to get on the roof. And we could hear people getting casevaced off the roof because there was a massive wheat factory and the hole at the top, they were using it as a murder hole. And they were like ants, like just similar to Fallujah, I suspect, when you see them coming, And we had a red phone down at the bottom, and my mate climbed down, he went to the roof, I went down and picked the phone up and I rang Tanya up, my missus. And I spoke to her and I went, I love you, And she goes, yeah, I love you too. What's that noise? I said, don't worry about it. And she goes, you okay? Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I'll phone you in the morning. I promise you I will phone you in the morning. I love you. I put the phone down and I went up on the roof, and we ended up using cooking oil as gun oil because we ran out of gun oil for the Gymppies. And we found out single sniper fire, the insurgents would just spread. But if you get the big guns on the go, they disguise as masks your one shot. And so I was getting the 2 GPMGs, we call them, general purpose machine gun. And I said, look, fucking fire. And they were firing, and then me and my mate would just pop off. And they were coming up the fucking walls, and we could hear ding, ding. We couldn't figure out what the sound was. Well, anyway, the fight went on, and we thought we weren't going to make it at all. It was fucking horrendous. In the morning, we looked down. There were bodies everywhere, and they were firing RPGs at our fuel cans. And because they're old-style RPGs, they weren't arming for a certain distance, so they were just pinging off. So if they would hit it, it would have blown half that fucking building apart. And I rang Tanya up, and I didn't tell her really. I just talked to her about what went on, but it was fucking horrendous. It wasn't my first introduction to snipering, but that was probably my first introduction into a massive gunfight, And
what do you think your mindset was like, with a target-rich environment like that? What were you kind of like working left to right, just targets of opportunity? Like, did you kind of like make a strategic plan while you're actually in it?
Yeah, so we had RPG Alley, we had Murder Wall, we had the Wheat Sheaths, we had Abandoned House, we had different names for them.
Yeah.
It's how you read the battlefield,
right,
and how you take these targets out. If I humanise them, as in people, it's harder as a sniper. So calling them targets is more, it's less on the brain, if it makes sense. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you're already so saturated with everything going around you. The less you can think and perform is the key. Yeah,
and we had ammo for ammo, and fuck me, we were near enough out of it that night, and it was fucking horrendous. But you got shot in the helmet. I was in this massive firefight in Afghan, I got shot in the helmet. They just issued us with the new Mark 7 Alpha helmet.
Okay.
But my head is so big, I still had the old one, because it didn't have my size in the store. Now the new one is higher on the ear. The old one goes lower. It hit me there. So if I had the new helmet on, I wouldn't be talking to you now.
Same.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I'd be in a motor control wheelchair probably going across here, but I wouldn't be here. And you said about an out-of-body experience as well. When I got blown up, I got rushed to Basra and, Bastion in Afghan. And I'm not a religious man at all, but I remember being on the table and I was fighting. I was fucking fighting. And all I could see was psychedelic. Like, if you went out with your hand, it would follow on. And there was people in white cloaks. And I grabbed one And I went, can you just tell my wife that I'm sorry and that I love her? And I let go. And I thought they were angels. And I came round and there were doctors in white coats. And this guy goes, you can tell her yourself, mate, you'll be all right. You're going to be all right. It just fucking threw me, you know? So I can really, me and you've got so much in common. It's hard, mate.
Yeah.
Tell me what it takes in American words to be a sniper.
Our official definition then was a Marine highly skilled in field-crafted marksmanship who delivers long-range precision fire at select targets from concealed positions in support of combat operations. So,
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
Do you know what ours is? To gather lifetime information of the battlefield. And that's our primary role. That is our primary role. Wherever we go, people always think, I've been called an assassin, I've been called all names under the sun for being a sniper, you know? But my primary role is to gather lifetime information. It's not to take that shot. That's my secondary tasking.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And my first tasking is to get in there and just get as much information as possible. Because you're, like you said, you know, on that, your principles of a sniper, you're at the top of your game on camouflage and concealment. So you can get in there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's like arts and crafts with guns.
It is.
Essentially.
It is. It's like you said, you got to think outside the box. To what makes you comfortable in the field. Now, I know that we could sit here and talk about who's the best snipers, Americans or British, you know. I would say we're about par.
Yeah.
Right? But I know that you have a good resupply chain behind you. We don't. We have shit kit. It's travel light, freeze at night sort of fucking attitude. And once you're wet, you're wet.
Yep.
You know, and everything's fucking cold. And the exercise areas that we train in are constantly wet. And Wales, you know, have you heard of Wales?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, constantly wet because it comes from the Irish coast and it's constantly raining. But it makes a good training area, you know. And if you train like that,
Yeah.
when you go to these countries, but like I said, we train green, you know, and next minute you know, you're in Iraq, you're in a built-up area, and you're like this, fucking hell, I've been training green all my life, and now I'm in an urban area.
Yeah, everybody
Did you
wants
have an urban suit?
Everybody wants to be a sniper until you're sitting in a puddle of water in a bush for
That's
5
it.
days.
That's it.
Freezing.
When you got a shit in a Tupperware tub, you know, when you got to pee yourself because you don't want to move, when your mate has to wipe your arse, you know, because you don't want to break the sight cover, you know, you're looking through the glass and you don't want to break your position. And I'm a 3 kind of wiper kind of guy. And he just one wipe, puts it in the bucket and pisses off, you know. But
all the guys, like, so you could always like tell who went to sniper school because our green undershirts would all the sleeves would be cut off because you're wiping your ass with that, or your socks, you're cutting out the top of your socks.
That's it.
You know, I'm like on a stock, you know, stocking and ghillie suit. I'm essentially just like pulling down my pants, rolling over to the side. You know,
but people don't see that.
No, they don't. They never
People
show
didn't
that in
see
movies.
It. No,
just like they don't sleep in movies.
And it's like the rations we have, like your MREs. They're designed to clog you up. You know, so when you're smashing in these biscuits, people think, "Oh, why aren't you having warm food?" Or no, it's not like that.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
you want to be conscious. Yeah, that's a bonus. In Iraq, no, in Afghanistan actually, I've stayed still for the longest is 7 days. I've stayed still for, and I had sores in my legs where I couldn't move because I was looking down into a village, and this village was getting resupplied all the time with ammunition and rounds and guns and fucking rocket launchers and everything, and I just couldn't move because I had shot some people. They knew that I was in the hill, and obviously, you know, a sniper will take no more than 3 shots
from the same position,
and then get the fuck out. Well, I was there for 7 days, and they had a JSC-17, which is an anti-aircraft gun, and they had 4 in Afghan. The SAS had took 2 out, and there were 2 missing, and they were in this village, and they used to spray the top of the ridgeline constantly looking for me. And I just couldn't move anywhere, you know. So yeah, I had sores, and I dug a trench between my legs, and I used to pee myself, and it used to go in the trench, and then the sun in the morning used to bake it, you know. But the flies were all normal, and I didn't shit for 7 days.
Yeah.
I was eating dry biscuits, you know, and that was the longest. Yourself?
So it was a little different from my experience because we had a 4-man team. So,
Yeah.
you know, you might be on the gun for maybe, you know, we would try to do like, I don't know, 4 to 6 hours at a time and then kind of rotate off. But there's sometimes, you know, especially if it's the activity gets really high or you're actually actively engaged, you're not really rotating, you're kind of just stuck at that position. But most of our, if it wasn't fighting from a compound where we had infantry guys with us, if it was just by ourselves, I think the longest was maybe 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
But like I said, that was also with like being able to like, all right, rotate off the gun and, you know.
But what it says in the book, when you got taught to last 48 hours to 72 hours sustainable on the ground, that's black and white in the sniper pamphlet, you know. But it doesn't work out like that.
No.
You just get pulled pillar from post because you're an asset,
Yeah.
you know, and you're good at what you fucking do, and they want snipers on the ground. You just come in off an op, have a shower, get some scoff on board, reload, sort your weapon out, and then you're back out on the fucking ground, you know. We had a sat phone with us because that's the only time I could ring my missus up, you know, because I didn't have any downtime. I was burning myself out, man, you know, and that was in Iraq, and that carried on to Afghan as well, you know.
It's all things I enjoy doing because that's what it takes to be able to even be part of that organization.
Yep.
And it's those small things that I just appreciated, you know, because it was the whole like aspect of it. It was just like, hey, here's this beautiful position and here's this amazing high-speed Hollywood sniper rifle. That would be kind of boring, you know. So I did some research on you. There's actually
Did you?
a pretty interesting story about you. Something about a long shot, maybe?
Yeah, so I broke the world record. I still hold it for a small caliber, but obviously Ukrainians broke it. Have you seen the size of that one?
No.
Mate, it takes 2 to set up, all right, and it fires around like that. It's bigger than a 50 cal. It's fucking huge.
And a person shoots this?
And a person, he made it himself. He made the gun himself, and he broke my world record with that gun.
Did he break his shoulder with it?
Fucking hell. And it takes 2 people to, honestly, but, you know, I didn't do it to break the world record. I did it to save 12 guys that were in the shit. So there was a big op going in, and it was my job to give Overwatch. I could see the Taliban queuing up an attack, and I got 3 vehicles behind me, but everyone thinks I was laying down. I was stood up when I did my shot. I was letting against a compound wall, and you know how shit they are.
Yeah.
So every time I fired, bits of it fell off. So I had my shoulder in the gun, and I was pushing forward with my other arm. And I could see all the Taliban queuing up from the bird's eye view that I had. So I was radioing it to the patrol going in, and obviously I had an interpreter with me. Did you have ICOM? Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. So they were talking away, and I was saying to the interpreter what they're talking about, and they said they were going to wait till they get into the kill box, and that's what they were saying. They were speaking our lingo, you know. They're going to wait till they get into the kill box, and then they're going to open up. And so they walked into this open ground, which I presume was the kill box, and they opened up. And so I was taking targets out, and my driver said, "Oh, there's somebody over there." And I scooped over, and there was a guy stood next to a water pump. And I thought, well, just keep an eye on him, because when we got taught it takes them about 20 minutes to flank you. So I was always teaching my lads 10 minutes ahead of them. So I decided to get my vehicles and act as a buffer between the village and the kill zone. so the patrol then can get all their injured and dead out. So I told him to go down. Turned around to this guy, still there. So I was checking me out, firing away. And then I saw a glint in the distance, and I was fucking, what the fuck's that? So I looked for my binos, and it was a guy on the radio, and he was orchestrating the whole attack.
Yeah.
I thought, right, I need to get his head down. So I fired my first shot, it fell short, second, short. And I, bracketing. So I was walking the round in, and eventually it hit the compound wall. Took me 9 shots. It took 6 seconds for that bullet to fly and hit the compound wall, and it just made a massive dust cloud. And then the icon went quiet, and then it spoke up again, and it said, I can't direct you on anymore. I'm getting shot at from somewhere. And that, obviously, for me. So my vehicles are now in the kill box, separating the kill box and the village. And I turned around, and this guy had stood up. So I whacked him. He's 600 yards away. I whacked him. And he wasn't a marker. What he had done, he had knocked the irrigation pump water, and he flooded the whole all the irrigation fields. And my vehicles are now stuck in the mud. They're wheel spinning. They can't get out. And everything went quiet on the battlefield. And I was scanning my arcs. We were there for about 3 hours. And then I heard, and I thought, what the fuck? And I looked at my men, and all my men were on the ground, face down. And I could see in the water bullet splash marks. So I checked everywhere that I'd been taking targets out. And the only place I didn't check is at the top. So I looked at the top, and I saw 2 guys. One was kneeling, and it was a PKM machine gun, and he was feeding it. So I fired my first shot, missed, and I fired my second shot, and the guy feeding the machine gun stood up, and I whacked him here, and he fell down. And then I fired my third shot, and as I fired my third shot, I moved my rifle across. I knew it was 6 seconds time of flight, so I counted 3 seconds. So I went 1, 2, 3, moved my rifle across and fired. So now I've got 2 bullets in the air, 3 seconds apart. Third one missed, fourth one hit him. And an Apache helicopter came down, and he came down really low, and he looked at me and he went like that, and I went like that, and he GPS'd it at 2,475 meters, just over 1.5 miles. And I didn't know anything, and I just went like that. And then they took some more targets out. My men got extracted out, and we just carried on the tour. And obviously later on in that tour I got blown up, I got shot and everything, so it was quite a kinetic Afghan tour. And then when the tour finished, I went back to England, and we got our medals parade, because we're all British, we all like the old parades, and the media were there, and so I told my stories, because my men saw more fighting than the rest of the troops. And there were, and I said, will this get censored? And they said, yeah, tell him what you want, it will get censored. It never got censored, so it went straight to the papers that I was a sniper. My wife's name, my dog's name, my fucking everything was in the papers. And then we started getting death threats of fundamentalists, and in England they wanted to cut my head off for what I'd done in Afghan, because I caused a lot of fucking drama in Afghan as a sniper. And came back off that tour, death threats, so me and my wife had to go in hiding for 3 years. And yeah, it was hard. It was hard on my wife, she's a civvy. She doesn't know fuck all, And I was hyper vigilant, because I was protecting my family, and I felt very responsible. I felt it's my fucking fault, because I took that shot. I made that decision, you know, and I put my family in danger now. And my wife was fucking near enough had a breakdown over the whole situation. So going back to what we talked about earlier, do I regret taking that shot? No, because I saved people. But the backlash, you know, and I'm a murderer, I'm a fucking baby killer. Oh, loads of stuff came out about me. And I'm like that. I'm just doing it because everyone's got this false impression of a sniper. They always think of the movies and Hollywood, how snipers are perceived. And it's not like that at all. I bleed and shit and piss like everyone else.
Right.
You know, I'm not superhuman. I realised that when I got blown up, I realised I wasn't superhuman.
Yeah.
Because I had that attitude, I'm fit, I'm fucking airborne, I'm indestructible, I'm a sniper. You get blown up, your body's just a mush, and you're not. And I suppose you felt like that when you had your out-of-body experience, that you just feel, fucking hell, I'm human, you know?
Yeah, and like everything is just like, oh, I could end in a second, you know? There's no more love, there's no more steaks to eat, you know, it's just over.
Yeah.
But you know, what's really crazy about hearing that story from you is that, you know, who would have thought that your biggest threat would actually be your own country's media?
Massively. So you've done all your tours and being shot at, experienced combat. What brought you to leaving the military?
So I actually, I got back from my last deployment to northern Iraq in 2016. And when you come home, I was with Marine Special Operations Command, our special operations unit at the time. And when you come back, you do a thing called home location decompression. And you have to like talk to like the admin people, make sure your pay's good, talk to the chaplain, talk to the shrink, all this type of stuff. And it's my turn to talk to the shrink, and I dealt with a lot of like bureaucracy. At this time, I'm a master sergeant. I'm pretty senior. And I just dealt with so much just red tape on that deployment. And I'm just like offloading on this guy, and he's like, so tell me more about what's going on. I'm like, you know what, dude, I've already shared these things numerous times. I'm like, I tell you what, you get my sleep fixed and you give me Adderall, like I'll work with you. I'll tell you whatever. And so we finish our block leave, and he does exactly that. He sends me to it's called Intrepid Spirit. We call it the TBI clinic, but it's not just for TBIs. And I started doing like all the tests, all the blood work. And one day the neurosurgeon comes in and he's like, hey, what if I told you you couldn't be a Marine anymore? I'm like, the hell? Like, what are you talking about? He's like, dude, you have enough stuff to be on a medical board and get out of the Marine Corps. And at this point in time, my as you started like working on yourself and like trying to like get healthier, you know, better, it's like pulling a thread on your clothes. It just starts all unraveling. And, you know, at this time, I never thought I was in the Marine Corps now at this point, 13 and a half years. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, dude, I'm only getting out if I retire or I medically retire. Like, that's the only way I'd ever get out. Probably because I was too scared to get out on my own accord. And because I was definitely fed up with a lot of stuff, but I loved my job too. And, you know, I had a good career and I had an opportunity to really like influence, you know, my command. And so I go on this, I go on this medical board, and I get this opportunity while I'm on the medical board to try out for one of our special missions unit. And I'm like, hey dude, I want to stop this medical board. I finally have an opportunity to go to selection. And he's like, that's okay, Cody, we can do that. But let me ask you this question. He's like, if you made it over there, do you think you'd be a liability? And for the first time in my career, I was actually honest. I'm like, yeah, I think I would, you know, like I had so many telltale signs, like I just didn't care anymore. And, you know, I'm falling off my motorcycles, I'm getting lost in my house, I'm driving down the road and not knowing how I got there. So like I'm showing up to work super late. I'm having these like uncontrollable adrenaline surges where I would just like hit the red, and like, you know, being the senior guy, I'm walking around our schoolhouse just unloading on people, just yelling, just really being completely unprofessional. And I'm at this like teeter-totter point of like really ruining my entire career. And so I took all that stuff into consideration. I'm like, yeah, I think I would be a liability, you know? And so we continued on with the medical board, and I don't know if you guys have that out here with the Brits, but medical board is super scary because once you get kind of like classified there, you're kind of like blacklisted.
Yeah.
You know, like you're
Yep.
you're damaged goods at this point. And I was super verbal trying to get help. You know, I realized even as an E8, you know, asking for help was one hard, but getting that help that I needed was like, I got so much pushback. And I always felt bad for those like younger Marines, you know, that would come into the unit. They were like, hey, I have this like trauma, or I have this pain, and they would like never get the help they needed. And it pissed me off. But that day I picked up my DD-214, my discharge paperwork. They had to turn my security clearance badge to get into our compound. I got escorted off, so that pissed me off. And as soon as I walked out that gate with that paper in my hand, bro, I was like instantly lost. You know, my purpose, my identity, my mission in life, it was completely gone. There was no like second like life for me. I had no other vision outside of that. And I was dealing with a lot of, you know, PTSD, traumatic brain injuries. And I'm basically like a functioning vegetable at this point. And it was an extremely hard transition. I felt pretty alone. I just felt lost and scared. And, you know, my wife asked me during this time, she's like, you know, if you had like 6 weeks left to live, what do you want to do? And bro, if you had a gun to my head and said, you got to decide now, I had no idea what I wanted to do. And I was really saying the first thing that came into my mind and my heart at this point in time in my life. And I said, travel around and take pictures. And she's like, okay, let's do it. And because of her and her bravery and her like leadership in our marriage, because I was really relying on her, she was feeding me, dressing me. Like I was super incapable of being, I felt like not even like a man anymore. So we sold all of her stuff and bought a conversion van, and we called that home for about 3.5 years. And, you know, people were like, "Are you living down by the river?" I'm like, yeah, bro. And at the time it was very dark and alone, but just like you, I'd imagine, like that's really where you find yourself. And I spent that next 3.5 years really like facing me and like trying to find like, who am I?
Yeah.
You know, what do I believe in? You know, what do I stand for? Because I didn't have those answers. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me, man.
It's exactly the same with my scenario. You know, my wife spotted it first, the changes in me, being alone, you know, how snappy I was, my bad temper, not sleeping right, just walking around the house, checking everything, you know, my hypervigilancy and everything. And then the army noticed it, because when I was going on exercise, I was in Afghan, I was in Iraq, you know. That explosion that hit me in Afghan shattered the wall in my head, and I was holding back from Bosnia, Kosovo, Iraq, Afghan, all this shit that I've seen and dealt with. I was holding back in this ice wall, and it just got shattered. You know, I just didn't feel right. And I hate the saying man up. Fucking pisses me off unless you walked in my shoes, you know. But I had to suck it up a little bit. And then I got called into the MO's office. I'd just come back from the sniper school, 2.5 years teaching there. And said, you're done. I went, pardon? Yeah, you're done. Obviously I went for tests and all that, and said, the Headley court is shut down now, is where our wounded soldiers went. And I was getting bad migraines, really bad, that are crippling. And I was getting blurred vision in my head, everything. And he said, yeah, you've got a TBI and you've got CPTSD. I knew what PTSD was. What's CPTSD? Some people call it chronic, or some people call it combat, you know, and fucking hell, I was lost. I had no purpose. I had nothing. All I wanted to do is fucking come off this world, is end it. That's all I wanted to do. And my wife goes, no, I have my dog, I have Tanya, I have my daughters, and it wasn't an option, do you know what I mean? I needed to be a man for them. And it was fucking hard. I just had nothing. I joined the army at 16, you know, and do you know what? They institutionalized me.
Yeah.
So I was totally army. And it was always army first, Tanya second, always. And when I left, I put Tanya first. I put Tanya first, and whatever is second for me, because she stuck by me for all the shit like your missus did. And I stand up for it now. I'm a big advocate for talking up about mental health in veterans, about PTSD in veterans. And do you know what? No one would understand somebody with PTSD unless you've had or you've got PTSD. If I sat there with somebody like yourself, sat there with you and you've got PTSD, I fucking understand. This walk we've done, yeah, I understand what you're going through. You know, it's like looking at me.
Yeah, it's crazy, like our similarities, you know, both commands, you know, different countries. And I know it's not easy talking about that stuff, so I appreciate you sharing that, dude.
Talking is the powerful thing.
Agreed.
You know, it beats everything.
No one signs up to like lose their soul. No one signs up to carry around guilt and shame, you know? Just like you sharing your story. When we can be, you know, authentic and vulnerable and, you know, not these perfect beings that exist, it shows people that they have that same thing, and we're way more relatable because we're just, you know, what would we say, two blokes, right?
Cody, it's been a fucking pleasure, bro.
Yeah, brother, bring it in. Thanks for sharing everything, dude.
You take care of yourself.
Absolutely.
All right, yeah.
All right, brother.
I remember stepping into a doorway.
There's always one.
And I just literally look from here to where that puddle is away, and there's, with a smile on his face,
Yep.
with an AK, and let rip.